Hello, and welcome to Real Recollections,
That's not how I remember it.
where we revisit our favorite childhood entertainment and see if it holds up against our jaded adult lives. This week, we're covering Bambi! Here we go!
Bird,
Drop,
bird,
little leaf,
bird,
showers,
bird,
blah,
bird.
blah, 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 blah. Now we go to our local cartoon expert with our plot in a pinch.
Roll the camera, Sam!
Bambi's idyllic childhood is under the unrelenting, omnipresent threat of the Invisible Man. What starts out as rumors soon become his tragic reality. When the man's shot rings throughout the meadow, his mother is never seen of or heard of again. Bambi tries to pick up the pieces of his life with the help of his distant father and dear friends. But his happily ever after is once again threatened by the sound of distant crows and whispering on the wind. Man is in the forest.
Wonderful!
Wonderful! Why, thank you, Sally. Jonah, what are your recollections of Bambi?
Well, Bambi, I have very similar memories of Bambi as I do Dumbo. Like, we weren't allowed to watch it.
We were oppressing you. You couldn't watch it. The older kids are the ones who just make all the rules.
Not allowed to watch what I wanted to watch. Yes, if you have had the same experience, we need to speak up.
False history. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if we were like, no, not Bambi.
No, but I remember really liking Bambi. The thing that I was certain of, that was not the case when we watched this, is that I thought Flower was a girl when I was a kid.
It is a little bit ambiguous, I feel like.
Also, I wasn't as sure about this one, because I think somewhere along the line, somebody was like, no, Bambi's a boy. I thought Bambi was a girl, too.
Really? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Well, we had that Bambi toy, and it had big eyelashes.
That's true.
And I guess when I was a kid, I was like, big eyelashes? Girl. No eyelashes? Boy. That's just how you do it. Even though when kids are little, everyone has big eyelashes.
Yeah, they all kind of have the softer features and everything. So I can see what they were going for, but I can see how were confused too. I mean, it's hard. Thumper's a boy. Like, you hear it in his voice.
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
Bambi and Flower, it's not as clear. In fact, Flower does kind of sound like a girl's voice to me.
Well, he talks off
like this.
You can call me Flower. Also, his name is Flower. Well, which I have no problem with. Like,
is his name Flower, or is he like, you can call me Flower?
Okay, his nickname is Flower. His nickname is Flower. He's very bashful.
I just realized that's a great mystery. What is Flower's name?
We don't know. I guess
Post what you think Flower's real name is.
Nobody really seems
Gerald.
to know. Flower's name is The Rock.
Rocky, something like that. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh. Maybe his name's embarrassing.
Maybe. And so he's like, oh no, you can just call me Flower.
Like
That's
Pumbaa.
good.
Just kidding.
Wow.
Thanks, Pumbaa. I apologize.
Rude, Jonah.
How about you? What are your recollections?
My main recollection, you mentioned the stuffed animal. Goodness.
She has corona.
You mentioned the stuffed animal. I got that at Disneyland. We were at Disneyland, and my mom wanted to take me on Haunted Mansion, and I was like, no, not gonna happen. Haunted Mansion is terrifying. It's in the name. I've never been on it, but I know just from looking at it that that's not somewhere I want to be.
Even though it looks like a very nice building from the outside.
Yeah, but it's a creepy vibe and the wrought iron fence, and it's called the Haunted Mansion. Okay, so I thought it was going to be really scary, and my mom was like, it's not that scary, we promise. But just to make sure that I wouldn't be too scared on the ride, she said that she would buy me a toy. And so I was looking and I found the Bambi and I just loved it. Even though I don't recollect having like a great love of the movie, I saw that big-eyed Bambi and I was like, I must have it. And so Mom bought it for me, which is strange. Like, our parents didn't really buy souvenirs for us very often.
I mean, we weren't allowed to ask.
Oh, no. If you asked, you definitely wouldn't get one.
Yeah, so you had to kind of just hint.
You had to be like crafty, like,
that's a really nice Bambi toy.
I don't care if I have it.
I can't stop looking at it, holding it, kissing it, hugging it. But I don't want it.
I really don't want it. Yeah. Oh, you bought it for me. Wow.
I mean, as subtle as a child can be.
As subtle as a kid thing can be. It probably wasn't subtle at all. But yeah, Mom bought it for me, and so I hugged it all the way through Haunted Mansion, and I wasn't scared. So that's what I remember.
Wow.
I have a great love for that. It's one of my earliest memories of Disneyland, too, is that story. So I remember that, and mostly just memories of that stuffed animal through the years, like when it got the cut in the back. Do you remember that?
I probably tried to set it on fire at some point.
You probably did. Jonah had a thing for just setting things on fire, so we won't go into that, but
I'm an arsonist.
I used to put Band-Aids on the little Bambi stuffed animal. We still have it somewhere.
Yeah, we had there was always a Band-Aid on it. We would replace it every so often.
Probably not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought Band-Aids were really cute when I was a kid.
Me too. They're adorable.
Is it Toyland? And he has the 2 Band-Aids on his forehead?
I don't know.
I think it is. And I was like, that's so cool. And I would do that sometimes.
On your forehead?
I wanted to look like him. Yeah.
That's amazing. Only children strive to look wounded.
Yes. I look so much cuter with a gash in my forehead.
But I had the same thing. I thought Flower was a girl. I was really scared of the dad, since we always have to cover what I was scared of in the movie.
Oh, yes. What else was scary, Mary?
It was mostly that.
Man.
And then, of course, the death was really sad. And also ambiguous. Like, as a kid, I think I'd watched so many Disney films where, like, everything turns out well, that honestly, up until, like, the end, like, credits roll, I expected the mom to come back.
Really?
Yeah, I think I was just like, okay, sure, she's gone, can't be with him anymore, but she's coming back.
Yeah, well,
She's
I think almost everybody remembers that scene as her getting shot, where you actually don't see it. We were talking to our uncle the other day, and he said, well, that scene where
she gets shot
in the head is, like, too much. And we're like, in the head? How do you know? How do you know?
You don't see it.
You don't see her get shot.
I know. I think we all created memories of it later.
Her mangled body.
Oh no!
Lying
Stop
on
it.
the floor of the meadow.
Oh my gosh.
Left to rot. Actually, they probably went.
They probably picked her up. Yeah. So there's that. But anyway, that was what we remembered as kids.
Yep.
About Bambi, and now we're going to go into a little bit of how it actually happened.
Yep. So a lot of the animators who are in Disney now, they call Bambi the first Lion King, because really it's a coming-of-age story of an animal, a parent dies.
Well, didn't the directors of Lion King, when they were, like, presenting it, they were like, it's basically Bambi in Africa.
Yeah, they did.
I love that so much. Yeah, but it was not an easy film to make. Disney didn't know how to go about it, actually. Because if you think about it, none of the other films they've done have had, like, animal main characters.
No. I mean,
Jiminy Cricket, but they really made him into, like, a little
humanistic,
man.
And Honest John also, but he's, like, also humanoid.
Right.
Fox.
But this is a movie all about the animals.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they wanted to get the animation right, so they wanted all of the animals to be anatomically correct. So they would look at all these bone structure and muscle.
Yeah, they had specialists come in. Walt had specialists come in to teach them all those things. Anatomy, right. How it moves, etc. And also just fine artists, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Well, anyways, all of this made the animation process and story process take a really long time. Ultimately, it took half a decade to complete.
Yeah. Bambi was gonna be their second film. It ended up being their, what number is this? Fifth?
Yeah. Fifth.
Their fifth film.
Their fifth film, one of the biggest problems was, how do you make anatomically correct animals be entertaining for over an hour? on screen.
How do you make them have the emotion that they're supposed to have, etc.? So Walt really left. He wasn't sure how to solve it, so he basically had a few animators start working on it. Kind of when Dumbo was going on, he also had people parallel working on Bambi. They'd been working on it before, but they really started working on it, and they were kind of unsupervised. So they would, they were the first to be moved to the new studio, first of all, and they were basically unsupervised. In fact, they had like kind of this funny thing where whenever Walt was like, they knew Walt was in the building, one of the animators would yell, "Man is in the forest." And they would all like put their best pictures up on the top of their desks and really try and make it look like they were doing good work and, you know, that kind of stuff.
If you're not familiar, Man is the villain in Bambi.
Yeah.
The unseen villain.
The unseen villain.
Anywho, the movie is based off of a book written by Felix Salten, and he was an Orthodox Jew, and he wrote it against cultural assimilation and fascism, and ultimately the Nazis outlawed the book.
Yeah, because they saw it as him writing against like the mistreatment of the Jewish people during that time. But it had a bigger view than that. He was from Hungary and actually moved to Germany in his life. But he was more against fascism and cultural assimilation, like Jonah said. So it was kind of a serious book, but Walt really liked its themes and kind of the cycle of life.
Right, the circle of life.
Circle of life, you could say.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why they had to do Lion King. They're like, I don't think they were so focused on the mom dying, they didn't really get,
the
circle of life thing. So they're like, with our sequel to Bambi, The Lion King, why don't we start it off with a song called, I don't know, Circle of Life.
Circle of Life, yeah.
Have it be the first words of the movie, you know?
Yeah, that love song was just a little too vague about how love goes on and on.
Love is a song that never ends. By the way, I like that song.
I do too. I think it's beautiful. I'm surprised. I didn't really know it till we were watching it this time.
Who sung it? Was it Jiminy Cricket?
No. It was somebody else. I'm sorry. I don't have the name for you.
Yeah, that was fine.
On that. But
Mary, get your crap together.
I'm the one in charge of the music names, but I don't remember who sang it. But speaking of the animals kind of having the facial expressions right, Mark Davies is kind of credited for that a little bit. He's the one that kind of struck that balance in the deer, especially, of kind of anatomically correct, but also expressive. Expressive, yeah.
Which I think was the huge downfall of the most recent Lion King, the live action in quotation animation marks. I mean, real lions have more expression than that. They're so stoic the whole time, and when they talk, their mouth barely moves.
And then they sing, and it's
I don't know. I'm not sure how good of an idea that was to try to make Lion King live action in quotation marks.
Don't say you really feel,
the only people who had like character in the whole thing was Timon and Pumbaa, and then they were riding the edge of being cartoonish. So like when you try to make something look really realistic, then you're like always warring against like how far can I go, and then you're so limited by what you can do.
That's true. But Bambi, they based his expressions. Mark Davies did. Davis. Mark Davis. I almost said Davies. Maybe I did. Yes, anyway, so he based Bambi's expressions particularly off of Baby's expressions, which makes sense because Bambi is a baby.
Yes.
Yep. As Jonah pointed out,
we know from the last episode.
Dumbo. We're not going to get into that.
I think Dumbo's the youngest. Oh, wait.
Okay, fine.
The next movie we're covering.
But something kind of cool happened. So Disney was really worried about this. He wasn't sure how it was going to work out. Yeah, he was having a hard time with it. And they made that scene where Bambi goes to jump over the log. If you remember, and he has a hard time, and Thumper kind of helps him.
Yes, of course I remember. And they're like this easy. And they're jumping back and forth, and you're like, oh my gosh,
That's
I hate them.
I know. With his long limbs, he's like, trying to get over that log.
Has maybe been walking for a day.
And they're like, it's easy, please.
Just jump over the log. I can't do that now. I'm a full-grown adult.
But anyway, they played it for Walt, and they're all nervously waiting, and Walt actually got tears in his eyes, and he was like, that is animation gold. So there you go.
Yep. That animator said it was one of 2 times that Walt gave him like just a straight up compliment.
Yeah, because usually it was more constructive, like, this is what we need to work on. So the compliment was kind of if he didn't have anything to say about it.
Yeah.
Probably, right?
Yeah,
that's what I imagine.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's pretty cool. Obviously, that scene really touched Walt, and I think it's because he cared so much about this film. He really wanted to tell this story.
And he was willing to take the time to make it the kind of fine art he wanted it to be.
Yeah, I'm probably seeing that first scene where it was coming together the way he always imagined it.
Yeah, it's pretty magical.
It must have been emotional.
Yeah.
Part of the reason, one of the things that they figured out was they kept trying to find all these expressions in the deer, like, close up, and then they realized they zoomed out a little bit and they looked at the whole motion, and then they realized all the expression is in their body in the way that they move through these things, and they realized their range of motion was a lot larger than they thought at first.
Yeah.
Like the deer's elbows can go all the way up above their chest,
Yeah.
And so they realized, whoa, we have all this motion we can do with them.
Yeah, to make them more expressive.
That we didn't think we could.
That's really
before.
smart to kind of look at the whole animal and kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, another cool thing about this time period in Disney that we kind of wanted to talk about was that they got their first female animator. Yay! So up until this point, women worked at the studio. There were 5 in-betweener animators, which are basically animators who animate the motion in between 2 pictures that the animator would
main
give them.
animator would do.
The main animator would give them like 2 pictures, and they would do all the in-between motion to get from picture to picture.
The main emotions.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they would do the in-between work. That's called the in-betweeners.
Very aptly named.
Yes.
So the first female animator, her name was Retta Scott. And so and this was in 1942. She ultimately got noticed because when Walt came into the studio one day and all the rest of the animators, they saw these beautiful,
concept art,
scary pictures of those wild dogs from the end of the movie attacking, surrounding Filene. Is that her name? Filene?
Yeah, Feline. I'm not sure how they say it in the movie.
So they're surrounding and it was very oppressive and scary, and like the motion and the teeth. And they were like, wow, what animator came up with this concept, like these ideas? And then it came out to be Retta Scott, and Walt says, she's an animator.
Well, make her an animator.
Let's make her an animator, which was a big deal. There was only a few people who were known as animators.
A lot of people who helped with the in-between work.
Or did like the finishing work on the pictures.
Very few were actually named animators.
Yeah, it was a big title there. And you had to not only become an animator, but you had to continue producing good work to stay an animator. Right. So it was a pretty big deal. And it was kind of hard for her at first. The other animators were not super welcoming at the beginning. She came into her animating office at first, and her other male animators had decorated her desk with like doilies and lace curtains and all these things, just kind of giving her a hard time.
Which she did not appreciate.
No, of course not. She just, I'm sure, wanted to just be part of the group. And it's got to be hard to kind of step in and be the only woman there.
Like pre-classified, like, you are the woman.
Yes, and I represent all women. It's always hard. Yeah, and she didn't have any assistants either on her work that she was doing. Unlike a lot of the other animators had assistants and things like that. She did most of the work herself, but she did a really good job, and she helped on a lot of other films. Yeah. She ultimately made friends with a lot of the animators, though. And she would work with them on the weekends.
Yeah, but it took time. Would hang out with them after work and stuff, too. Which makes sense. I mean, in 1942, Disney's company was actually pretty forward thinking and
For its time.
For its time. They had over 1,000 workers, 1,023, and 308 of those workers were women.
Yeah.
So that's a really high ratio in the Hollywood scene at that time.
It was actually the highest proportion of women in a Hollywood studio at the time. So it was they actually were hiring a lot more women than other studios were.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that those women were always getting roles like animators. A lot of them were doing more in-between work and
I know a lot
finishing
of them
stuff.
were in charge of coloring and...
Yeah. So the more finesse stuff at the end. But yeah, so not perfect, but Walt really did want to hire women, and he wanted women to be comfortable there. There are always problems, but...
Yeah. I mean, there's problems still today.
There's still problems now, but at least Walt wanted that to happen.
They were moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I think so. So we're happy. Retta Scott. Snap, snap, snap. In addition to Retta Scott, actually, they had another animator, Tyrus Wong, who is also, I hope I said his name right, but he was also an animator at the time, and he was a Chinese immigrant, actually at age 9, and he came over to the U.S., and he got, like, degrees in high art and stuff, but he just wasn't able to get work because of, racism and everything. And he eventually, though, he was able to get work at the studio as an in-betweener.
Yeah, and he was in charge of a lot of the concept art for the backgrounds and the scenery in Bambi.
He became an animator because of the stuff.
Yeah, and that's why Bambi kind of has this more not simplistic, but what do you call
Very
it?
ethereal almost. Like, you have a couple details.
Impressionism.
I would say that.
I'm not super familiar with the terms, but to me it looks like impressionistic, where like you get the impression they're in a forest, but you don't actually see all these trees.
Yeah, it's not like Pinocchio where
you
you can see every crack and all the stones in the city. And,
right, it's kind of more wispy, and I think it's really beautiful, but the reason why they liked it so much is because it makes you focus on the action.
Yeah, of the animals
and not looking
themselves.
Around. Actually, the first scene, they don't really have that when they're panning the forest.
Yeah, that one's more detailed.
And that one's more detailed, but I actually don't think it looks as good.
I don't think so either.
Enough.
I like the scenes where they have, and they use colors really interestingly too. Like, it'll go from like a really green-blue day, and then when man comes to the forest, all of a sudden there's oranges and reds, and it seems to not only evoke the landscape, but the feelings of the animals that are in it often. It's really beautiful. And they say that he based it on ancient Chinese paintings and things. I can't remember what century it was from, but you'll see some of those paintings. If you go look up Tyrus Wong, you'll see some of the paintings he may have kind of drawn from, but it's really beautiful.
It is really beautiful. One of the fun stories of the making of Bambi is actually the actor for Thumper.
Yeah.
So he was cast, how old was he? Age 4? He was like 4. I think he was 4.
Yeah.
He was 4. And when they were doing the casting auditions, they had all the children come up and doing the lines, and he gets up there and he just, basically screams his lines like he does in the rest of the movie. And the casting director's like horrified, but the animators or the artistic director, I can't really remember who was there, but they were like, oh, that's the one we want. Because he was so just, putting it out there and such a kid. But there were some problems, like he couldn't remember lines very well, so they would have to feed him lines very shortly. So the very famous line that Thumper says is, if you can't say something nice, and then he takes a big pause and he takes a breath, don't say nothing at all. So that's actually because he forgot the line in the middle of it, and he couldn't remember it, so he took a breath, and then he could find the line again. And
I love Thumper. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that story. I love that they just pulled him out because of his just like one level loudness. They're like, that's the voice we want.
But it's perfect for Thumper. Thumper. It's perfect for Thumper, and there's also an authenticity to it.
Yeah, I think that's what they sensed, like this is the kid down the street. And you could easily recognize that in him. And I love that he's not like a trained actor in a way. You know what I mean? It makes it really authentic. I love it. Yeah. So
Bambi didn't make money at first.
No, it didn't.
But it did start making a profit in 1950.
Yes, it did. Yeah, Walt Disney actually came in one day and announced, Bambi has just made back, what it cost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now it's...
Made even.
Yeah. And so it wasn't from like maybe the first release, but it really started to pick up because they would re-release movies, Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because they didn't have home movies.
Right. So the only way you're going to see Bambi is if you go back and see it.
Yeah, they didn't have VHS.
They didn't even have VHS.
What world did they live
What
in?
did they do?
Yeah.
But yeah.
They might have broadcast on TV sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it did get good critical acclaim. Like, people really liked the themes and things like that. And it won the Academy Award for Best Music Soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of Disney's thing at this point.
Yeah, I know. They keep winning that. Yeah. So, and that was
that's 2 years
Edward
in a row.
Plum, yeah, who kind of wrote that. Edward Plum and Frank Churchill, which you may remember from Snow White.
Yeah, it's actually a very classical sounding soundtrack. And I was listening to it, and the other old Disney films also sound like very classical, orchestral soundtracks. But I was like, there's something about this that sounds a little bit more classical. And then we found out that every single song. has classical music
form
and
like
structure.
this is one is a waltz and this one is a that kind of thing,
right?
So all of them had a form. It was very structured, which kind of makes sense based on that. There was that story where Disney, they played a section of the film.
Oh, that's right.
And they were kind of trying out some of the music. And Disney's like, I don't know. And he's like, hey, do you have that Beethoven Pastoral Symphony still in the booth? And so they played the Beethoven Pastoral Symphony.
The part of the storm.
Yeah, the part with the storm over Bambi. And Walt was like, yeah, so can you do something like that?
And he's like, that's Beethoven.
That's Beethoven.
And he's like, yeah, do that.
Yeah, can you just write some Beethoven for me for my movie? So yeah.
Not just Beethoven, a Beethoven symphony.
I know. But yeah, so I think that's part of the reason that it kind of has that very classical
well, ultimately
sound.
Paid off, right?
Yeah, ultimately played off. It ultimately made back its money. And it's funny, there's some lists that I found of, and just for Bambi, things that it achieved, right? One of my favorites is that the film was named as the 20th best horror film by Time magazine at some point.
Because it's terrifying.
Because it's terrifying for children. So I thought that one was great. And it also said that Bambi was listed as the third best animated film by the American Film Institute at some point. And
Which makes sense.
Yeah. It has really good themes.
Yeah.
It's much more serious than the other films.
Yeah, it feels more like an art film.
It does, yeah. And Man was named the 20th greatest villain from the American Film Institute at some point. So there you go. Right up there with Hannibal Lecter. I don't know who else would be on there.
Yep, so that's how Bambi was made, and here's what we thought about it.
Yeah.
Right? So, you're a jaded adult now. Was Bambi everything that you hoped it would be?
I actually think that, well, it's interesting because I think that I enjoyed it better in some ways.
Yes.
Like, I think Thumper, as a kid, you're like, oh, this is fun. Like, this is a fun kid. As an adult, he is absolutely hilarious.
Yes, he's wonderful.
I laughed out loud probably more in this movie than not any of the films we've watched so far, but it was up there as far as like ones I've laughed out loud at.
Snow White, for me, I still laughed at more.
Yeah, but some of Thumper's stuff just kills me. Yeah, I work with kids at our church, and I feel like one of the kids that I work with is absolutely a Thumper.
He's just
so loud and so earnest too. Like Thumper's a really nice kid.
Really sweet. Like if he starts to get in trouble and he knows it, then he like totally switches gears. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
But I love just his one level. Is the young prince? Or whatever he says.
Yes, that was the line that they were doing the casting.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my gosh. And his just instruction of Bambi, everything. Yeah.
That's great. And they did a great job with his gestures and stuff. Yes, Thumper's definitely a highlight. Actually, okay, Bambi has like almost no lines. In fact, there's almost no lines in the whole film. There's only like 1,000 lines or something like that.
Something that, yeah.
Anyways, a lot of people say it's a great lesson in film making because it tells the story almost all with visual storytelling.
Yeah.
Which Walt was a huge fan of, and also the musical storytelling.
Yeah. Walt really wanted it to be, he was always like, tell the story through the music. And this is kind of our first film, too, where there's not really, the animals aren't singing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
except for Thumper's girlfriend. Whatever the song
oh my goodness. I did an impression of his girlfriend to Mary the other day.
It was memorable.
Hello.
Stop it.
Flutter of the eyelashes. Also, funny story. I was at a pool with my family the other day, and my mom had come to that pool when she was really young, like 13, 14. Mm-hmm. And she was with her grandma, who was a very serious person. But she said she was up at the top of the water slide or whatever, and the lifeguard was kind of flirting with him. And her grandma was like, you need to flutter your eyelashes at him like this. And,
oh my gosh.
And I was like, fluttering the eyelashes, like, I feel like that does nothing
for anyone.
Like, I don't know, does anybody, if you find fluttering the eyelashes just irresistible?
If you use fluttering of eyelashes, we also want to know that.
If you intentionally flutter your eyelashes.
I feel like you look up through your eyelashes sometimes. Stop it. Like Jonah just gave me the intense look under his eyes.
It just look really creepy if I did that.
It does. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever fluttered my eyelashes, other than to be funny, of course. Jonah's giving a lot of evil face impressions that I think are supposed to be.
I'm trying to flirt with you, Mary.
Stop. Oh my gosh. But yeah. So you have the first scene, right? With the prince is born, the circle of the stars. That's right, that's what it was. Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I can't get over it.
It's so funny. That whole scene is very funny. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But I think that for me, there's still places in Bambi that are slow, even though it's only an hour long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just parts where, like, the story doesn't feel... There's, like, the nature cycle thing. Sometimes I think I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so when are we gonna...
Well, and none of the songs are super standout. I mean, Love is a Song is good, but, I mean...
April
who could name that as a Disney song off the top of their head? You know what I mean?
No one, yeah.
I mean, probably the most memorable is April Showers.
Yeah.
And
I wonder, though...
Nobody knows past Drip, Drip, Drop. So.
Drip, Drip, Drop. Yeah, exactly.
And then little April Showers. And then that's it.
Well, a lot of it is just wooing with the wind and stuff, too.
Well, Walt actually didn't want the animals to be singing because he just didn't feel like it was realistic. Even though, I mean... Yes, it's not realistic, but also they're talking.
So there's that.
Yes, and also in your last movie, you had some crows singing, so...
Yeah, I wonder if it's just because they were more natural.
Yeah, they were definitely trying to go for a more realist version.
Or maybe he just wanted a more
animation.
somber movie in general. But I do think that if one of the characters had sung Love is a Song That Never Ends, we would remember it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Don't you
think?
If
Bambi's mother had sung it to him.
Oh, like as a lullaby? I want to make me cry.
And then they could have played like a sad version of it when she died. Or like when...
Jonah, stop!
Or when he gets back into the forest and he's like, Mother!
No, Jonah, that's really sad.
When he walks away...
Can we tear up just a little bit?
One tear drops and one glance back.
Oh, that part kills me.
Never ends, except for it just did.
Did you know that a Walt's daughter... Well, actually, like, when she went and saw the movie, like, looked up at her dad, like, really accusatorily and was like, why did you kill Bambi's mother?
How dare you?
How dare you? I would have felt betrayed also as a daughter. But yeah, I think that for me, the strongest part is the characters. I love Thumper. I love Bambi, although I don't know if I have super strong feelings about him, actually, as a protagonist, where I'm like,
No, I didn't feel super connected to him. I felt way more connected to
When he's a
Flower
kid.
and Thumper.
Yeah. But for me, when Bambi's a baby is when I'm most connected to him because he loses his mother and like all these other things. But if you think about it, like what is Bambi's personality? It seems like it's just a wonder and like discovering the world. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't have like a lot of...
Well, he has almost no lines.
He does
have a very handsome voice when he grows up.
He does have a handsome voice when he grows up. He's a very handsome deer.
Yeah.
I guess. He doesn't have that weird curved horn of the other evil deer that tries to take Feline. Yeah.
And you get your little dream sequence in this one.
Ooh, yeah. You didn't get it in Snow White. But in this one, when he meets Feline, he
goes on a little dream sequence. Yeah, this whole movie's kind of dreamy for me. Like when I try to remember like what happened in the movie, it feels kind of
same. Like I'm trying to think of like the chronology of it, and I feel like for me it's like the beginning part where they're like the prince is born, yay!
And he's going around and he's having fun and
and he goes and he meets Thumper. All the parts with Thumper are like the parts that like I feel like mark the passage of time.
Yes.
So like you have that, and then the winter scene, which is just probably one of the parts I remember most from like childhood.
The ice skating scene.
Yeah. And I feel like so recently actually we went to Yellowstone, me and Jonah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And we were hiking and our sister's like, hey, look, there's a moose. And we were like, ha ha ha.
We had been joking all day.
All
like,
day.
Moose!
Look, there's a wolf. And,
We actually had code names for wolves because nobody wanted to cry wolf.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Exactly.
I learned that from the story.
So we didn't believe her, but there really was a moose like 30 feet away from us off the trail. And we're like, wow, that's amazing. So we're watching this tall, elegant moose. And then these people come down the trail and they tell us, actually, we just watched that moose give birth. That's right. It just given birth like 60 minutes ago.
On the other side of this tree was her little baby child.
Yeah, so about 30 feet away was like a little baby moose. So we went on the hike. So we were gone for like 4 hours. And we came back, but our dad had stayed there that whole time and he had just videoed the moose. And so he videoed like its first steps and like all that sort of stuff. And I have to say, it looked a lot like Bambi.
It's almost exactly like Bambi.
Yeah.
Yep. How like Bambi puts his arms out like really wide.
Yeah, when he's trying to balance and everything.
They totally do that.
Yeah,
At
and like
least
kind of teetering and yeah.
Yeah.
So you can tell that they really watch the animals.
Yeah.
Just from that. Yeah. I love that.
They did a good job.
Yeah.
They also did a good job with the villain.
Man. Yeah.
Mary and I also quite enjoy horror movies. To a certain extent.
On the side, yeah. We're like, yeah, we like horror movies, but not horror movies.
Right, yeah. Our favorite... Okay, so for me, horror movies, as soon as you see the villain, it becomes like half as scary. Or
it's true.
Even less than that. Like, I'm no longer scared. It has turned from a scary movie into like an action film. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
well, because...
now we see the problem, we know how to deal with it. But because in Bambi, you never see man. It's just like, man is in the forest. You hear all the animals talking about it, and they're running, they're screaming. It's like,
oh, and there's that part with the little quails.
No, it's the pheasant.
Pheasants. Oh my god.
And he's coming closer.
I'm gonna fly away.
They're like, no, stay. Don't move. Don't stay. And then she's like, I can handle it. And she flies, and then she dies. Well,
and she dies. She flies and dies. Yeah, and then the feather is exposed, so you know that she got hit. And lots of animals actually lose their life in Bambi off screen in that scene.
Anyways, it makes man very scary.
Yes. Although I do have to say also, one of the things I thought during that like main scene where man are there at the end, because like they come at the one part, but you never really see anything. Nobody gets hurt. Then his mom dies, which is really sad. But that's also like a one and done animal thing. The end is like a carnage of animals,
they're like,
right?
Come to war with.
And I'm like, these hunters aren't hunting anything in particular. They're just like anything that comes out, we'll shoot it.
It's like, it's war.
A pheasant comes out, we shoot it. A deer comes out, we shoot it. We have no plan for what we're hunting right now.
Set the forest on fire.
Oh my gosh. Actually, did you know that Walt wanted to show at the end, he wanted to include a scene where like you see like the burned up boots of the man, as if like he had gotten burned up in the fire that he started.
Oh yeah, deep.
Yeah. Not really deep, but like righteous justice, whatever.
Right, like he started this and
Yeah, and this is how
it was
ended.
his end.
It was his end. Yeah. Obviously, it didn't make it, which I think is probably good anyway, because I think it actually leaves a little bit more like sadness in your heart, you know? Because it almost feels like they did this and yet there's no consequences for them burning down the forest.
No repercussions.
Yeah.
We actually have a friend whose dad is an avid hunter, and he wouldn't let them watch Bambi when he was
Yeah, because they didn't want them to see the hunters as the bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we don't hate all hunters here on Recollections. No.
No.
Just irresponsible ones who shoot everything and also burn up the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
There's no reason for that.
Somebody set a fire on a mountain on fire.
We have a mountain behind our house. Somebody set it on fire the other day.
And that caused a lot of problems. Well, not the one the other day, the one several years ago.
Yeah, several years ago there was a fire and we all had to evacuate. Yeah.
It was bad.
It was bad.
And guess who started it?
Well, shooters, man. You never see dogs starting fires.
I would like you to show me the last deer who started a forest fire.
Never. It's never happened.
I'm 80% sure that's never happened.
Only 80%. 20% of you thinks there's some deer out there starting a fire.
There's gotta be some deer fascinated with flame.
Some deer, what do they call it when they're like when they love setting fires?
Arsonist?
Arsonist, pyromaniac. Some deer pyromaniac out there.
Yep. He's like, it's fun. Look how it burns. That's how I am.
Oh my gosh.
I am man.
I set fire.
Man is in the forest.
It's in the forest. But yeah, so I think that Bambi was like my first, as a child, the first movie that ended hauntingly for me. Where it's, what do you call it? Melancholy ending. Because like it's happy, because at the end you've got cute little twin deers. But it's also sad because the forest is still burned down. They're just rebuilding it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Bambi definitely doesn't have a happy ending.
Yeah. It has like a hopeful ending. That's different though. It's not like, and they all lived happily ever. It's just like, and they all kept striving through hardship with the goodness of their hearts.
At the end, so they only say a couple lines, but they seem like lackluster. Like, I wanted them to be like, oh my goodness, Filene, I'm so glad you're here. You know?
I know, yeah. They kind of just like cuddle a little bit, but I wanted it to be more like, these are refugees who didn't know if they were going to see. They deer kiss. They do.
On the lips.
I didn't notice that. So there you go.
It's more like a touch. I mean, it's not like there's any lip action.
Oh my gosh.
Action.
All right. So
nobody wants to see that.
Nobody wants to see that with deer. Also, they don't do that. But yeah, I don't know. I did kind of want more of that, like, but all the animals just seem kind of like resigned to it.
Yeah. By the way, the fire in that scene looked really good.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, they actually did the special effect for that is similar to what they would do for the water. I think they use a slightly different surface.
Yeah. Different thing to reflect it off or something.
Yeah, because they would use that old-timey glass that the light would go through differently in different places.
It makes sense they would do that with a fire too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just at the end when it was like up there, it really looks good.
I'm glad there's at least a mom in this one, even if she does die.
She does die.
She is still there.
See, how many moms? So we've done 5 movies, and what's the...
Have we done 5 movies? Wait.
Okay, so, Fantasia, no, Fantasia doesn't count, so it's just 4. How many of them have moms? Almost all of them. Pinocchio's the only one that doesn't have a mom.
That's true. Snow White doesn't have a mom.
Okay, Snow White has a stepmom.
That doesn't count. We're talking about positive use of motherhood.
Okay, her stepmom gives a lot of attention to her.
She got a lot of attention in her young age.
I'm just kidding. Sorry.
So sorry, that's 3 out of 5. 2 out of 5?
I guess 2 out of 4.
2 out of 4.
I don't know.
If we're not counting Fantasia, and there's moms in Fantasia. I mean, there's the horse mom, And the Pegasus mom, I mean?
Yes, the Pegasus mom. I was like, horse.
I think that's it, actually, as far as mothers go in that one. But at least there's one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Bambi's mom, she survived through like half the movie. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
For a Disney mom.
Yeah, I think, she did a great job. His dad is still kind of scary.
What's up with his dad?
I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to revere this man because he doesn't care about his child.
Because he stands on the rock while his wife gives birth.
Like, what a good dad. He's looking down upon them with such self-righteousness.
He's at least 25 feet away from the birth of his child.
Distancing. He like only comes in the most dire.
And they tell, you know why he's the prince?
Moments.
Because he's lived the longest.
Yes.
That's the reason.
Because he's so smart. That's why
he's smart, so he's lived the longest. I mean, at least he always does, like, he always tells the other animals if danger is coming.
Yeah, and he has big
pretty
antlers.
Nice. He has big antlers. I think that's pretty much all you need to be the prince of the forest in this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I'm like, hate to, kill your dreams, Bambi, but there's actually like 100 other princeless.
Stop it.
In the forest.
Oh my gosh. You have a lot of half siblings out there somewhere. No, just kidding. I don't think they were getting that realistic with the thing.
Okay, the last thing I want to say is it's so touching. Flower names his son after Bambi.
I know.
I guess Bambi did, because we were thinking about it. Bambi doesn't do all that much.
Yeah, he mostly
He's
just
kind of a victim at every point in the movie.
Yeah, because he grows up, he kind of learns about the forest from his mom, and then his mom dies. He's taken on by his aloof dad, who apparently taught him something. Yeah. I don't know. And then
he becomes the prince of the forest, who is then supposedly revered.
He does say Feline.
Oh, he says
from
Feline.
From the other deer, and then from the dogs.
Like a mating.
He's like, that's self-serving. That's not.
Yeah, it was for his own motives.
Except for Feline did not want to go with that other young buck.
No, but still, he had
ulterior motives.
Yeah.
He also saves her from the dogs too, though, and he got hurt from that. He got shot.
Yes, he did get shot, and he lived. Anyways, what I wanted to say is, even though he did nothing for basically anyone else. Except for
Feline.
He did give Flower quite a bit of confidence.
That's true. At the beginning, he's like...
Because he said, you're beautiful.
Which, maybe the skunks aren't, the most loved members of the forest.
Absolutely not.
And so it's kind of sweet that he didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So that was sweet. I like that relationship.
I like that about that. But he doesn't really do anything for Thumper either, other than Thumper gets to, be himself with him. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good friend by itself, A
friend.
Yeah, so I think definitely that's my favorite part is the Three Musketeers, those three. That whole thing.
Ultimately, does it hold up? Yay or nay? Say yay or nay.
Yay or nay.
Say it. No, one of the two. One of the two. You know what I mean.
Does it hold up? Well, it's always hard when you say that because...
No, it doesn't. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, it's hard to say.
You're just kind of talking around it a little bit. You're like, it's so hard to say.
You say yay or nay. Does it hold up?
I asked you first.
No. You don't get to do it and then not be able to do it yourself. So you're gonna say your yay or nay after
I'm gonna say yay or nay afterwards.
Oh my gosh.
No in-betweeners here. Only real animators.
I would say nay.
Nay.
Bambi's not my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, we watched it twice, but I'm not like...
Wait, yay or nay? Are you saying nay as well?
Okay, do you want me to explain
you
why
have to say the word no.
After?
You have to do it after.
I just said it.
You said nay?
Fine, nay.
Okay, there you go.
Here's why I say nay. I say nay because it's boring, one. And
that's probably the main reason for me.
That is all boring.
Well, I feel a little pathetic saying it's boring when it's 60 minutes long, shorter than most of the TV shows I watch.
Okay, listen, we like opera. That can be long, and we can find it engaging all the way throughout.
That's true.
But this I found, the second time I was in a much better mindset, and I did find it much more entertaining throughout. Mm-hmm. But it's hard. Like, you do have to be in the right mindset. You're like...
It's a quiet film.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's why I love all the parts with Thumper. Those parts, for me, really stand out. And they're really strong.
Yeah.
But some of the other stuff, I just, like you said, I don't care about Bambi other than, like, as a victim. And, like, oh...
Definitely the first time I watched it, I was kind of like Flower in the winter scene, like, oh, is it spring yet?
Yeah, they definitely work to make winter feel long and dreary, and I'm just over it.
That's exactly how winter is. Except for from the very beginning.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I actually like winter.
Yeah, that's because you have no soul.
Wow! That's not true. Winter is beautiful. Like the part where they're ice skating. It's fun.
Do you like how she said, that's not true, winter's beautiful, that's not true, I have a soul. That's exactly what a person who would like winter would say.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, it's a little slow moving. And then I think there's the Bambi problem, there's the dad problem of like, I'm like, is this supposed to be someone I respect, or am I just supposed to be like, what an aloof dad? This is what nature produces? I don't know. Bambi at the end also is standing 50 feet away on a rock.
I know. Bambi's like,
so like
we're taught by his dad, you know.
We're being realistic about animals in that
Circle
like the dad
of life.
goes away, but then also, I don't know. I just don't like to think that's how Bambi is with his children.
I know.
Like, be there for your kids. So I think it just walks that line too much for me of like nature, but also not sometimes.
No, yeah. I mean, I can't really fault them for doing it because that's maybe how it actually happens. I don't
fault them. This is not my favorite thing.
No. But anyways, that's our thoughts about Bambi.
That's our thoughts about Bambi. But if Bambi is your favorite, tell us why. Why do you love Bambi so much?
Tell us why we should repent and re-record this episode so that at the end we can say it was
yay.
It was amazing.
Also, let us know, all your traumatic experiences with the mom dying. Was it your first movie where you experienced death in a movie or not?
No, I don't know.
I feel like for a lot of people it is.
Remember that.
Their first one.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. And if you liked our episode, leave us a review.
Yes.
And send us your stories and we might share them on the podcast.
Yeah, we would love to share your stories.
Yeah, so you can email us at realrecollectionspodcast@gmail.com.
Yep. You can also leave a reply on our website, which is realrecollectionspodcast.com.
Or you can follow us on Facebook and leave a post there about your story.
Real Recollections Podcast. Oh, might just be Real Recollections, actually, on Facebook.
We also have Twitter, and we have something else, don't we?
I think Twitter, Facebook, website, email.
You can leave your story in a review.
Yeah. You could review if you want to.
I'm just saying you have choices.
I'm just saying, yeah, there are a lot of ways you can contact us.
You have a favorite platform.
Like by leaving a review. You could leave a review.
Send us a letter.
Send us a letter.
Just
somehow.
kidding.
No, you can't send us a letter, sorry. But you can send us an email.
An electronic letter. Wow.
You could take a scan of a letter and email it.
I love emails. They're like really fast letters.
Yes. Is that a realization you just came to?
Electronic mail. That makes sense why they call it email.
Oh my gosh,
so send
amazing.
us one.
Send us one. Anyway, you all are amazing. Thanks for listening.
We appreciate you.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bambi's idyllic childhood is under the unrelenting, omnipresent threat of the invisible man.